Hey, this is Gabby with Juba Forensics PLC. I wanted to do a quick video to walk you through the divorce finances template that I have available that's free to use, just so everyone's on the same page with the easiest and best way to use it. So let me share my screen here. So from here, when you get access to this is the first thing you'll see. The tab at the bottom says Start Here. So the first note is to make a copy of this template before you start editing it. The next piece is you can use this template as needed. And I will have the video linked onto the template in case you are just working in the template, you lose the video for some reason, want to pull it back up. And there are three other tabs along the bottom that we'll get into. I did want to highlight, in case you're not very familiar with Google Sheets in general, how do you make a copy of this template before you start editing? So to do that, you come up to the top and you literally just click Make a Copy. Pretty simple. It'll pull it into your Google account then, so then you can own a copy of this template. You can rename it whatever you want to rename it. If you don't want it to say the word divorce finances, you can fix that too, whatever you need. So once you get that copy made, you'll come down here to the next tab at the bottom, which says accounts. So you just click on it. And from here, this is where you start listing out those joint accounts that you have with your spouse. So those accounts, I do have some notes. So you'll see anything that is boxed in. So let me back up a little bit more. Anything boxed in, feel free to type in. Anything that has that little like mark up in the top corner has a note there that might help you with this process. So as you're typing things in, so if my bank account ended in 1234, that ending date is the date that you're pulling the balance. So when I say date that you're pulling the balance, today is April 9th of 2025. But if I pulled the balance for March 31st, 2025, because I want to look at my bank statements, I would put March as my ending date because that is the actual date that goes with the balance that I'm pulling. And maybe I have $550 in that account. So if you'll notice, because I filled some things in, um, I have a formula in here, so do not mess with this here. This formula is calculating all of your ending balances put together. I will also say, ideally, you want the ending dates to be similar. You don't necessarily want this bank account's ending date to be March 31st, but this other bank account, because you have more money in there, you want to pull it for April 9th, 2025. And then the next one, maybe you only want to backdate it into February. So consistency is key. And I would say either pick as of today's date, whatever date you're filling this out. So it could be April 9th across the board, or it could be the previous statement balance. Whatever one is easier for you to pull and get access to. Just make sure those ending dates are consistent and match the ending balance that's in the system. So that's the note that I have on there. So same thing, when I think of bank accounts, I put a note in here. I think of checking and savings accounts. So feel free to put checking and savings in here. If for some reason you need to add more lines, I'm going to quickly walk through how you add lines just in case you're not familiar with something like this. So you can highlight and you can right click and insert a row above or below, and it just added a row for me. And from here, that formula also adjusted itself to include that row I just added. So feel free to do that. I will say just spot check your formula at the end to make sure it's pulling everything in correctly. So let me undo so we have the same amount back. From here, the next thing you might want to start thinking about is retirement accounts. So retirement accounts, I've got a little note here to help spark some ideas. I'm thinking about 401ks, pensions, IRAs, things along those lines. So make sure you get all of your information, fill it out here, similar to above. It's got a formula here for the total. And then you have investment accounts. If you do have any investments, and I have it on here. So anything not listed above, I would put into investments, whether that is mutual funds, CDs, cryptocurrency, whatever it is that you and your spouse might have, can come in here under investments. Now, I will say, I would not put mortgages on here, things like that. This is just accounts with money, dollars in it that you can get access to if you need. So that's how I fill that piece out. So the next tab along the bottom is income and expenses. So this is different. So to me, your accounts here are starting to get you to think through, do I have access to all of these accounts? Am I thinking through all these accounts? Am I missing an account? The next thing I want you to think of, which will help fill this sheet out. If you're not sure, if you think, well, I know we have a checking and I know we have a savings, but I don't know about the rest. That's where these next couple of tabs will help you backfill some of this information if you're not sure. So for income and expenses, I want you to think through anything, any source of monthly income that you might have, whether that is disability, whether that is some other type of benefits you might receive. Maybe you are retired and you get Social Security, like whatever it might be, you have a monthly income, doesn't matter. I want it to go on here. So you can go ahead and type in your source, whatever your source is. And I've got a note here. The source is what is it? Is it disability, pension, salary, whatever it might be? What money is coming in monthly? So if you want to look through your bank account and fill that in based on the bank account here, you can. But you can also just start with if you don't want to look at the bank account right now or don't have access at the moment, you can start right now and say, okay, I know we get Social Security. I know we get money from my pension. I know we get money from his 401k. I know we get money from whatever it might be, and just start listing them. And then you can do some research into, well, how often are we pulling money out of there? How often are we getting that frequency? So there's a note up here for frequency. So it's how often does this come in? So for this case, I have this tab as monthly income here. So weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. If it's monthly, put in 1 here. If it's bi-weekly, put in 2. If it's weekly, put in 4. And that what that's going to do is going to allow this formula to calculate frequency times amount, and then it'll total it at the bottom for you. So if you only get one paycheck a month for $1,000, you would put that in here. So I'm going to put my salary. Whoops. Okay, my salary once a month for $1,000. Oops. And they calculate it for me. But if you also got maybe disability and you maybe get your disability twice a month and it's maybe $50 at a time, it calculated to $100. So you can just see how the formulas work in here. So I want to reiterate again, anything boxed in, you can type anywhere you want. Anything not boxed in might be some kind of formula. So I would proceed with caution with typing if there's no box around it. So same thing as the previous page. If you need to add, feel free to right click and insert a row above or below, whatever it is you need to be doing. So that's how you fill out the monthly income piece. So I will say, if you want to start right now and just brain dump everything you know you get for income, at some point you will need to fact check that to the bank account just to make sure you didn't forget something and to make sure you know the amounts to the penny. Because yes, I am calculating nice, easy round numbers, $1,000, but most people's salary is not a nice, even $1,000. It's gotta have some sense to it, you name it. So I would try to make this as accurate as possible so you know how much money is coming in monthly. So the next piece on here is your expenses. So for the expenses, I do have some notes along the top as well. So the first thing you need to think about is monthly expenses. I don't necessarily want you to list out, well, I spent $10 on gas yesterday, and I spent $15 at the grocery store the day before, and I spent $7 on Amazon the day before. Because if you were to do that, you would wind up with an even bigger list than what this could be already. So I want you to think about recurring items only, not your one-off purchases. So maybe you bought this really cute tank top on Amazon. I don't want you to put that on here because that's not a monthly recurring bill, if that makes sense. I want a monthly recurring bill in here for your expenses. So in here, types of things that you would list would be your mortgage that you have to pay every single month. It would be your utilities that you know you pay every single month. When I say utilities, if you have a separate thing for water, a separate bill for electricity, a separate bill for if you're on natural gas or propane, like I want separate for all those monthly bills, your internet, your car insurance, if that is paid monthly, anything that you know comes out monthly, any subscriptions that you may have. So, yet again, I want you to think through your expenses, brain dump, get it all out. You know, you have a mortgage, you know, you have internet, you know, you have a phone bill, you know, you have car insurance, you know, you have health insurance, you know, you have dental insurance, you know, you just get it all out of your brain right now. And then you can go in and spot check with your bank account to make sure you didn't forget something and to spot check the amounts to make sure the phone bill didn't go up by $5 when you weren't paying attention, maybe. But what this is going to do, so if there is money in your divorce that is hidden or being put somewhere that maybe you're not realizing it's being put, that's where it's helpful to write down everything you know in your head first and then go look at the bank account. So I am not saying someone is hiding money from you because that may not be the case at all. You guys might be very honest and transparent, and everything is coming in and out of two bank accounts so you both can see everything, you have access to everything. But there are cases where money is being funneled elsewhere, or expenses are being funneled out of some other account that you may not even know exists. So, getting everything out of your head, if you've got a car payment, things like that, get all of that out of your head and then go look in your bank account to find those things, the income and the expenses. And that's going to be the first red flag. If you know you have DirecTV and Disney Plus and a car payment and a house payment and anything else, but you're only finding half of that in your bank account, there might be another bank account that you're unaware of that has money in it where the rest of those expenses are coming from. So I say that this is part of like the figuring things out process as you go. So that's why I've got them kind of organized the way they're organized. So you focus just on the accounts first and say, here are the two accounts that I know of, the two retirement accounts I know of, and the one investment account I know of. And then you dig a little bit deeper and start thinking, okay, I know we each have a salary and some disability and whatever else might be coming in for money. And I know we pay all these expenses, but I can't find out where it's coming from on the accounts I have listed here. Then you can start asking more questions. So the last tab that I have has probably the least amount of detail to it. So as you are looking through things, so a couple different things you can look for. So income and expenses, when we're back on that tab, I already walked through. If you're not finding those transactions in your bank account, start asking questions. Make notes wherever you need to make notes on here. And I would off to the side if you put on here truck payment. You know, you pay it once a month. You think it's like $500, but it's not hitting, I would make a note right off to the side here and say, it's not hitting our bank account. Where is this coming from? Just so you know, when you come back through here, you can see it. So the flip side of that is if you are, once you get all this out of your head and you start looking at your bank account, if you start looking and you're seeing things that just aren't really making a lot of sense to you, so some of it's going to be very straightforward, where if it's your internet, it'll most likely say the internet provider, and you say, oh, that's my monthly internet. But what if a second payment for internet is coming out of your bank account? So that second payment could be for who knows what. So weird things like that, if you've got two energy payments, two payments to the water bill, to the water company, those are things I would put on here. And just to kind of highlight and say, these are weird, I need more information. If you're noticing transfers from your bank account to another bank account that you're not familiar with, you don't have access to, If you're seeing things that say wire transfers, if you're seeing weird looking deposits, if you are seeing just cash withdrawals as well, and you don't know what the cash was taken out for. So this right here is not necessarily blaming. You're not writing all this stuff down saying, man, they're taking this much money from me. That may not be the case at all. There might be some really simple, easy explanations. Maybe you forgot that they mentioned they needed to pull some cash out to pay somebody for something. So, what this is this just gives you a list of all of the things that you need to ask more questions on. What is this bank account? What was this transfer for? What was this deposit for? What was this cash withdrawal for? Whatever it might be. So you're gonna have to fill this all in yourself. There's not really a fancy formula for this, but you want to make note of what bank account you're talking about. So if it's the savings, if it's the checking, if you have multiple checkings, make sure you're putting checking and the last four numbers of the account code, of the account number, I mean, because that's going to help you later identify where did that transaction even come from. You want the date the transaction hit, a description. So I've got a note here. We'll get to that in a minute. So your description, whatever the description is on that statement or on the bank feed, I would put that right in here word for word, exactly what it says. And then same thing with the amount, exactly what is in there. So the descriptions at the end, for this tab, so for the accounts, you just write all your accounts down. For the income and expenses, that is monthly. I would just pick 1 month. I would go back to the previous month and put that in there. For this transactions to research, in all honesty, I would go back multiple months. I would go back at least 3, maybe 6. If you can do a year, I would do a year. And yes, that is a lot of work, especially if you have a ton of accounts in there. But a full year's worth of data is going to help you identify trends. So I mentioned maybe there's a second water bill payment. Well, it is possible 1 month the water company did mess something up. But if there's a second water company payment all 12 months of the last year, something fishy is going on and someone's going to have some answers for you, whether that's the water company or the person you are working through a divorce with. So, if you can do a year, I would do a year of all of this information. Now, granted, you might start looking at the bank statements for all your accounts for a year, and you may not find anything. You may have nothing to put on the sheet, and that is amazing too. So, I don't want you to feel like you have to fill every single line on here because you don't. If you know what those transactions are, then you know what they are, and it's not a big deal. So I want to keep this brief. I'm kind of going a little long-winded here. I do have a note up here as well to look through 12 months if you can, and then look for trends. So an easy way to look for trends is going to be to filter by this description. So once you have your full list finished, the best way, if you are not familiar, if you highlight, so I just clicked on the number 2, and I can click on filter, which is this little hourglass looking symbol at the top. And from here, the upside down pyramid, I can click on it and I can filter. It would show me all my values. I can sort it A to Z. I can check and uncheck things. So that's really an awesome tool you can use to filter by description to see if there's any kind of repeat things coming out on a monthly basis. So that is the gist of this template here. I hope it helps you. If you do have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to me and I will go ahead and if I need to update something or fix something, I will be more than happy to help you and answer any questions that you might have. All right, thanks.